Hello y'all. So in the previous video I did explain about compounding, how compounding works and how it makes sense with exact calculations step by step with comparison to the simple interest, and I've also attached the raw file that you can use and play around with in its description. So this video is about the SAP scam. The thing is there was no SAP scam or such, or SAP alone, like investing every month is alone not a scam. What a scam is that what people tell you in YouTube, because they are not giving you the entire real picture. Investing every month the same amount doesn't not really have a system, does it? It's just you taking the amount and throwing it into some sort of mutual fund that you saw on some app which has a good rating, or you think it's good, maybe you trust the company, or it's from a banking company that you like. So this is all different reasons for different people to invest into different instrument, right? So SIP alone is not a bad thing, but the reason people do SIP for has to be considered, and how SIP works is something that you need to understand. So you see, SIP works beautifully when you have something called as a step up. Step up is nothing but you just increasing your investment every year, not by month but every year. So for example, in this video I've taken, you are investing an example of 5,000 every month into the market, and 5,000 in each month into 12 months is what, 60,000. And let me just assume for a simpler understanding that the market is giving you 10% returns. Okay, this is the stock market essentially is what I'm talking about, and the time is 180 months, which is considerably 15 years. And I have not yet dropped in the step up part because I just want you to understand how compounding works usually, again, which is very simple. It will take me around 2 minutes. Okay, and once you understand that, then you'll understand why you need a step up. And also, step up is not a magic thing. Okay, step up as in, let's say you increase the investment by 10 percentage, you cannot keep doing it for 15 years. Okay, it has to grow, it has to fall, it has to stabilize at some point. Okay, at the early age, if it all depends on when you start investing. For example, if you ask me, if you start investing at my age right now, you can invest a lot. I mean, you should, because compounding takes time, but at the end it should make a lot of money. But again, I'm not going to invest everything that I gather and scrap from the penny to penny, right? If I take all I have and invest into the market, what am I going to eat? What am I going to do for a living? So that is what people usually miss. They think, okay, if it works on paper, it works on reality too. No, and it does not also mean that what works on paper does not work on reality either. It's all about how you see it and how you understand it. So I'm just doing the compounding matrix table basically without a step up. Okay, this is not considered with a step up. So this is basically you investing 60,000 every year for 15 years straight. So as I told you already, I'll consider this the opening balance, the returns, okay? Because opening balance is what you invest, and the returns is what you generate obviously on the opening balance, and the closing balance is nothing but your opening balance with the returns, which is basically the value of your portfolio or the investment, whatever it is, at the end of the year, right? So basically you invest, let's say, a lakh in the first starting January 1, and then by the end of December 31st you get 10% returns. So what is the value of your entire portfolio on December 31st? It is nothing but that 1 lakh plus that 10% is, right, the same way. So here I've considered you investing 10 lakhs, I mean 10,000 per month, if you can see it in the example. So I'm referencing it with absolute, and then you see I'm just not going to type it again. I'll just simply I'll put equal to, and I'll reference it to the cell where I've set a standard literal real estate space in the Excel sheet for the principal place, right? I'll just reference it back to them, because next time if I have to change the principal to show some sort of different calculations, I don't have to go and change it at every point. I just have to change it at one place, and it will automatically get adjusted throughout the entire sheet. So you see 60,000 in the beginning of the year, earning 10% as returns, and that's 66,000. So you must be thinking the next year all should also be 60,000, right? No, that's the difference in compounding. See, your next year's opening balance will be the last year's closing balance, which is 66,000 plus an additional 60,000. Now, if you ask me why are we bringing in the additional 60,000? Well, this is just the nominal or the normal investment that we do every year on year. So okay, since when did we get that extra 66,000 on the entire total balance if we take away the new inflow of 60,000? Well, that comes from the previous investment. See, compounding works in a way where every return is internally generated, right? You don't have to actually sell it off and buy it again in order to realize the returns or realize the gains or losses. It just stays inside the instrument. And when you add more money to it, you're adding money to an instrument that already grew. So eventually, you're increasing the total value of an instrument by the returns it already generated and by adding more inflow. When people say compounding makes money on money, that's usually bullshit where half of the time they don't know what they're talking about. So let me tell you, when compounding makes money on money, it just means that compounding does not ask you to take the investment from the market, sell it, and then again invest back that money into the market. No, the instrument does not generate a return, the instrument grows with the return. That is how compounding works. Okay. So, while talking, if you see side by side, I've completed the entire table. I did not want to explain this again because I've already done the same thing in the previous video. You guys can literally go back to that because I've explained compounding literally in baby steps in that video with all the formatting and conditionings. Okay. So, this for now is the compounding table without the step up. So if you see, I'm not trying to make any more changes. I'm just trying to make it better with more decoration. I would rather say formatting. Okay, it's called formatting, not decoration. And I just want the table to look clean without any sort of decimal points popping out from particular places. So when it looks without decimal point like this, it looks clean and organized, kind of standardized. Instead of just each and every cell blowing out of its own proportion, this is a much more cleaner way to represent it, and to understand it, it will be very easy. That is why I have formatted it like this. There is no need for anybody to follow this either. So if you see, I'm highlighting the, I will highlight the final value. Oh wait, I did forgot to tell you. You see, in the year three's opening balance, it's taking the previous year's closing balance plus 10 percentage. 10 percentage of what? Of absolutely nothing. And that is why it's just the previous balance plus 60,000, right? I mean, it has to be 60,000, just like the year two. But it's not, because in year two, I've not given that dollar sign. So, dollar sign is basically called absolute referencing, which means every time I drag it down, the Excel sheet, it has a logic in order to go back to the same cell, which is specifically C4, which has the principal amount. Okay, it will not change regardless of how many times you drop it or you drag it. It will not change. So when I say take, when I communicate to Excel in a formula that hey, equal to take the previous year's closing balance plus absolutely referencing the exact cell, which is the principal cell. So what Excel will do is every time I drag it down, it will take the previous year's closing balance and add exactly the principal amount without any sort of change. And now if you see, I've highlighted the cell as I told you already. That is the total year end value of your portfolio. So by the end of 15th year, if you keep adding 60,000 to your investment in a compounding mechanism, you will have 20 lakhs 96,984, which is roughly just around shy little of 21 lakhs. Okay, I'm just kind of rounding it off. It's not something that you round off. I'm just putting it close to some absolute number. And I've just copy pasted it because it works exactly the same. But when you have a step up, okay, now you saw previously what you get without a step up, which is 21 lakhs approximately. So what do you get with the step up is what the question changes right now. So with the step up, you see, I've still not assigned a step up value. Let me first assign a step up value of 10 percentage. Let's say you increase your investments by 10 percentage every year, as in year on year, whatever you invested last year, you will invest 10 percentage more of it. Okay, now I know when I say that, people come and tell me, I've had people telling me already previously about, no, my salary does not grow by 10% every year, the calculations are bizarre. Wait, when I say 10 percentage, I'm not asking you to take an additional 10 percentage of your salary and invest it into the market. I know such a saying is very bizarre, right? It is just not ethically possible. You can't just invest eventually. Eventually you will even run more than 100%, right? So if you keep increasing for 15 years, somewhere down the line you have to keep investing 150% of your salary. That's what people think. Well, let me tell you, that is a very vague and uh, I would say a cliche narrative that's narrated to you, because as I told you in the beginning of this video, that is not how reality works. So let's say 10 percentage. So the year 2 will be the previous year's closing balance plus 60,000 with an additional 10 percentage of that 60,000. Okay, so every time you're investing into the instrument again, you will add up 60,000 plus 10 percentage of 60,000 into the same instrument, so that the overall value grows exponentially. So eventually, if you saw, the value was 1,26,000 for year 2 without a step up, but with step up you will be getting 1,32,000. Okay, now again, just as I told you, let me explain. For example, let's consider that your salary, okay, your paycheck or your pay stub, whatever you call it, but I'm talking about your monthly take home salary or annually, whatever it is. For example, to make it simpler, I'll consider it a salary of monthly pay, okay? Because since we're talking about investment into monthly the market, let's say you earn around a lakh every month and you decide to invest 5,000, okay? Honestly, nobody is going to invest 5,000 when they earn a lakh. But then again, for people who actually do SIPs, for those people who are into a lot of EMI balancing, debt consolidation stuff, for them you have to pay little attention here. You see, let's say invest 5,000, which is just 5% of your salary. Okay, you get the point. So if you invest 5 lakhs and you earn 1 lakh every month, that is you investing 5% of your salary. Is that understandable? So next time when you increase it by 10 percentage, you will be investing 5,500 rupees, which is, as I told you, it's called a step up, right? So when you increase by 10 rupees, I mean 10 percentage, you should be investing 5,500. But in your overall salary, I don't know why people assume it's going to turn into 15%, but in reality, if you look at the math, it's just 6 percentage, right? Like this, literally, if you do the math, if you know the math, it'll make it more easier for you. Like everything will just become so easy all of a sudden. The same way, if you see, an additional 10 percentage on that 5,500 is just 6,050 rupees, correct, which is 550 rupees. So earlier, from the 5,000 rupees, you had to increase 500 rupees for year 2, and for the year 3 you have to increase an additional of 550 rupees, which is 10 percentage of 550, sorry, 5,500. So if you look at the math, that is how it will increase. It will not increase by 10 percentage, 15 percentage, 20 percentage. No, it scares people, and it's absolutely understandable. It should, because if you think that way, you will end up borrowing money just to invest into the market, right? But that's not how math works. The 10 percentage is spread over your monthly investment, and you're looking at it from an annual perspective. So you're looking at it something at a singular point, but you're forgetting to account it for all 12 months. That is the problem with most of the people. Not most of the people. When I say people, I'm not talking about the consumers or the investors really. I'm talking about the people who make videos and they don't break it down and explain with clarity. And I'm telling you, if you got this at the first attempt, you really are great. But most of the people won't understand this in the first very attempt when I explain it. And it's absolutely normal. Okay, it is not necessary that you should be knowing everything before you watch the video, because if that's the case, it makes no sense for you to watch the video, right? It's okay. You just have to rewind it 5-10 seconds back, watch it a couple of times, and then you'll understand the point. Okay? So that is literally the point. Okay, I'll even write it down for you guys. I mean, literally type it down for you guys as a verdict. So when you see your investment increase by 10 percentage every year, which is basically year on year in accounting terms, you do not have to panic, because 10 percentage increase is also spread across the entire 12 months. Okay, so the math does not work the way we think it does. In reality, it works in a different way. Okay, and this is the part of behavioral finance. Well, actually, I'm going to explain the exact part of behavioral finance, and also why you cannot keep step up standard forever. a standard step up for 15 years at 10 percentage or 13 percentage or 15 percentage is absolutely bizarre. That is not how step up works. This is just an explanation and an example for you to understand how what step up is and how it usually works. Okay, this is not the point of step up. Step up has a very completely different uh, calculations to it. In fact, I'll even tell you with tutorials and numbers that why step up constantly is not possible and why it has to expand exponentially at some point and also shrink. So, if you look, I've also given you the literal referencing of why you should not type in any particular numbers, but rather you should just give in the real estate space for that particular specific element, whatever it is, the principal, the returns, the time, or even the step, whatever it is. You have to give away cells and specifically mention it and not disturb it, so that every time you have to change a value, you don't have to hard code anything as a raw number into the sheet, but you can just change it in the principal, like total principal, and the entire table will get auto adjusted. You see, this is just 15 lines. You can change it if you sit tight and focus on it. But what if it's 1000 lines, right? What if you're doing monthly, which is basically 180 months? It's not really a better, it's not really the best thing to do, is it? And I like to call it not following the Excel etiquette. Okay. So for the additional bit, I cannot explain it in this video, or I'm going to make it very very long, which is absolutely not advisable for a finance video. I know you guys must be already kind of baffled from what the calculations show. Okay, I'm talking about the people who are not aware of the finance side of this. So no worries. For now, you just subscribe to the channel, like the video, and sharing is up to you. But just be aware of what I'm doing so that you can subscribe and you can get to know every time I do a new thing. And also check out the links in the description and you can enjoy the access to it. Okay, practical hands-on learning will help you.